ancient times, there lived a king whose daughters were all beautiful. The youngest was so beautiful that the sun, which had seen so much, marveled every time it shone on her face. Not far from the king's castle there was a large dark forest, and in the forest, beneath in an old linden tree, was a fountain. One hot day the princess went into the woods and sat by the cool spring. And, as she was bored, she took her golden ball, tossed it into the air, and caught it again. It was her favorite game. It so happened that the golden ball, instead of returning into her hand, fell to the ground and rolled straight into the water. The princess watched it, but the ball vanished. The fountain was so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. The young girl began to cry louder and louder. She was inconsolable. As she sobbed, someone called out to her, "Why are you crying, princess, so much that even a stone would feel pity?" She looked around to see where the voice came from, and saw a frog sticking its big, ugly head out of the water. "Oh, it's you, old Splasher," she said. "I'm crying over my golden ball that fell into the fountain." "Stop crying and calm down," said the frog. "I'll help you, but what will you give me if I bring back your toy?" "Whatever you want, dear frog," she replied. "My clothes, my purse, and diamonds, even the golden crown on my head." "I want neither your purse, nor your diamonds, nor your crown. But if you agree to love me, let me be your companion and playmate, sit at your table beside you, eat from your plate, drink from your cup, and sleep in your bed. If you promise me all this, I will dive to the bottom of the spring and fetch your ball." "Oh, yes, yes, yes," she said. "I promise you whatever you want, as long as you bring me back my ball." She thought to herself, "The frog lives there in the water with his kind, croaking. How could it ever be the companion of a human?" Once the frog had her promise, it ducked its head under water, dived, and shortly reappeared with the ball between its lips. It threw the ball into the grass. When the king's daughter got her beautiful toy back, she was overjoyed. She picked it up and ran off. Wait, wait!" cried the frog. "Take me with you! I can't run as fast as you!" But it was no use for the frog to croak, "Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit," as loud as it could. The young girl didn't listen to it. She hurried back home, and soon the poor frog was forgotten. There was nothing left for it to do but dive back to the fountain. The next day, as the little princess sat at the table, eating from her pretty golden plate with the king and all the courtiers, they heard plop, 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 plop. Something was climbing the marble stairs. Then there was a knock at the door, and a voice said, "Youngest daughter of the king, open the door for me." She got up from the table to see who was there. When she opened it, she saw the frog. She quickly shut the door and went back to her seat. She was very frightened. The king saw that her heart was pounding and asked, "What are you afraid of, my child? Is there a giant at the door come to take you away?" "Oh, no," she replied. "It's not a giant, but an ugly frog." "What does this frog want from you?" "Oh, dear father, yesterday, when I was by the fountain playing with my golden ball, it fell into the water. Because I cried so much, the frog brought it back to me, and because it asked insistently, I promised it would become my companion. But I didn't think it would come out of its water, and now it's outside and wants to be with me." Just then there was a second knock at the door, and a voice said, "Youngest daughter of the king, open the door for me. Have you forgotten what yesterday by the cool fountain you promised me? Youngest daughter of the king, open the door." Then the king said, "What you promised you must do. Go and open the door." She got up and opened the door. The frog hopped into the room, always following her, until it reached her chair. There it stopped and said, "Take me close to you." The princess hesitated, but the king commanded her to obey. When the frog was on the chair, it asked to be placed on the table, and once it was there, it said, "Bring your little golden plate closer, we will eat together." The princess did as she was told, but she was reluctant at heart. The frog ate with a great appetite. As for the princess, every bite seemed to stick in her throat. At last the frog said, "Oh, I've eaten my fill. Now I'm tired. Take me to your little bedroom and prepare your silk bed. We're going to sleep." The king's daughter began to cry. She feared the frog's cold touch and didn't dare to handle it. And now it was going to sleep in her lovely clean bed. But the king became angry and said, "You must not despise the one who helped you when you were in distress." The princess picked up the frog between two fingers, carried it to her room, and placed it in a corner. When she was in bed, the frog jumped near the bed and said, "Take me with you, or I will tell your father." The princess became angry, grabbed the frog, and threw it with all her might against the wall. "There, now you sleep, horrible frog!" But when the creature hit the ground, it was no longer a frog. A prince with kind, beautiful eyes looked at her. He told her that a wicked witch had cast a spell on him, and only the princess could break it. The next day they would both travel to his kingdom. They fell asleep, and in the morning, when the sun rose, they saw a carriage arrive, drawn by 8 white horses. They had white plumes on their heads, and their harnesses were made of gold. At the back stood the young king's servant. It was the loyal Henry. He had been so heartbroken when he saw his master turned into a frog that he had bound his chest with 3 iron bands to keep his heart from bursting with grief. The carriage was to take the prince to his kingdom. The loyal Henry helped him and the princess into the carriage and climbed into the back, overjoyed to see his master freed from the curse. After they had ridden for a while, the prince heard a cracking behind him, as if something were breaking. He turned his head and said, "Henry, is it the carriage breaking its chains?" "No, my prince, it's not the carriage creaking, it's my heart relaxing a little after all this pain. I suffered so much when you were in the fountain, turned into such an ugly frog." Twice more along the way, they heard cracking noises, and the prince thought the carriage was going to break. But no, it was just the iron bands around Henry's heart breaking with joy at seeing his prince finally free.